There is this really quiet, almost backward thing that happens in sales. It is something I think every single person who has ever pitched a deal has felt deep down, but we just do not have a good name for it. And it is this painful truth that being the nice guy like, being the absolute friendly face in the room is actually silently killing your deals.
Yeah. It's one of those things you see all the time on the floor. Salespeople are taught to be warm, to build a real connection from day one.
Right, exactly. You ask about their weekend, you learn their kid's soccer schedule, you laugh at all their jokes, and when you hang up the phone, it just feels like you did everything perfectly. I mean, it feels like tangible progress, right?
It feels like you are building a deeply meaningful bond with that prospect, which is exactly what we are all told to do.
Yes, but then you look at what actually happens in the real world. The nicer you are on a call, the more likely you are to just lose the deal. In fact, top performers, the ones hitting their target and closing huge contracts, they actually ask way fewer questions about a client's personal life than average reps do.
It completely flips what we think is normal right on its head. The person that a prospect warmly calls their friend is very often the exact same person whose deal just quietly dies in the pipeline.
That is such a jarring image. It hurts to even think about. I mean, our mission today is to really unpack this. Why does building too much rapport create this trap? People call it the friend zone. And how do top reps stay human while staying totally in control?
It is a really delicate balance, and it is deeply rooted in how our brains actually work when we talk to each other.
But before we get into the mental side of things, I am struggling with the core idea here. Like, shouldn't people want to do business with those they like? If I am a buyer and I actually enjoy talking to a rep, I am naturally going to pick up the phone when they call, right?
You absolutely will pick up the phone. Likability gets you the meeting. It gets your foot in the door because, well, answering the phone and having a fun chat gives you a little hit of joy. It is pleasant.
Right, it feels good.
Exactly. But what we see when we look at human behavior is that liking someone and respecting their skill operate on two totally different mental tracks. A fun chat does not create the urgency you need to make a huge money choice.
So the buyer is just treating you like a peer at that point, like a buddy.
Yes, a buddy. And that brings us to this idea of the two signals. In every single business setting, people are tracking two signals at the exact same time without even thinking about it. The first is warmth.
Okay, warmth. Like, do I feel safe with this person and do I like them?
Spot on. But the second signal is status. Do I respect their expert skill? Do I trust their judgment enough to actually follow their lead when the stakes are high?
Oh, I see. But wait, I always assumed those two signals were linked. Like, if I turn up the warmth by being super agreeable, laughing at their jokes, telling them their ideas are great, wouldn't my status naturally rise because they view me as a good person?
That is the ultimate trap for so many salespeople. They are completely separate tracks. If you flood a pitch with warmth signals, like constant agreement and laughing at everything, but you never add any firm tension, your status actually drops fast.
Wait, really? It goes down. I want to understand the deep mechanics there. Why does constant agreement signal low status to the human brain?
It comes down to deep human nature. Think about how tribes worked a long time ago. The person who constantly agrees, who yields to every single opinion in the room, they are sending a very clear message.
What kind of message? Like they want to be friends.
Deep down, they are signaling that they need protection. They are trying to fit in so they do not get cast out. On the other hand, the leader, the person with high status, is fine with some friction.
Oh, wow. So they do not need everyone to like them just to feel safe in their role.
Exactly. So when a client meets a rep who is just too pleasing, their brain reads that person as someone looking for approval, not someone capable of leading them through a hard business problem.
That is wild. So by trying so hard to be liked, you are actively telling them you lack the power to guide them. You are saying you're beneath them.
You are. They definitely like you more, but they trust your judgment less. And huge choices require immense trust and judgment, not just a friendly face.
This makes me think of an air traffic controller. Like if I am a pilot trying to land a huge jet in a terrible storm, I do not want the controller on the radio asking about my weekend plans, you know?
No, you definitely do not want that.
I do not want them telling me how great my flying skills are. I want crisp, firm direction. I want them to tell me exactly what to do, even if it goes against what I thought was best. That tension, that directness, that is what makes me trust them with my life.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. You want their expert skill, not their friendship, when the stakes are high. And we see this truth validated when you watch top deal makers in action.
How does it actually look in practice? when you see someone doing it right versus doing it wrong?
Well, when you analyze people making deals, the ones who fail are always the ones who lean totally on being nice just to avoid feeling awkward. They cave on key points just to keep the vibe friendly and avoid rocking the boat.
They just want to keep the peace.
Yes. But the top earners, they manage to hold warmth and directness in the exact same breath. They validate the client's feelings, but they hold a firm boundary on the terms.
Holding a boundary creates that necessary tension. And that connects perfectly to what happens in deal training. I remember hearing about folks watching mock pitches and tracking the exact questions being asked.
It is a massive eye-opener.
Yeah.
When you track the questions,
Yeah.
the reps who ask harder, probing questions, the ones that actively challenge the client's thoughts and create a slight bit of social friction, they're always rated as more skilled afterward.
Social friction equals skill. That is a total mind shift. I think most of us assume friction means we are ruining the vibe and blowing the deal.
We all suffer from a fear of rejection. We worry that any tense moment will break the bond. But the truth is, the reps who just yield the whole time are viewed as weak. The client feels like they won the game, but they do not respect the rep.
It is the same with a manager, right? People trust a boss who will respectfully push back on them way more than a boss who just nods along and tries to be everyone's best friend.
It is the exact same dynamic. You respect the person who holds the line.
I mean, think about your last stalled deal. You, the listener, you know the one. You probably hung up the phone feeling just fantastic about the chemistry. You knew their kids' names. You laughed for 20 solid minutes.
And you felt like a winner in that moment.
Yes. But when you looked at your pipeline later, what did you actually secure? A real next step? Or did you just secure another friendly chat for next month?
It is a really painful wake-up call for a lot of people in the field.
It hurts because you feel like you put in the work, which naturally makes me wonder about the timeline of a career. We established that fear drives a lot of this pleasing behavior, so it makes total sense that a rookie, fresh out of training, would make this mistake. But surely, once you start hitting your numbers and gaining confidence, you just outgrow the friend zone.
You would hope so, but the trap actually just changes its mask. It shows up at every stage of a career. Rookies absolutely lean on warmth out of sheer terror. They view every new prospect like fragile glass that will shatter if they add any friction.
Right, but what about the folks in the growth stage, the ones who have been around a few years? If it is not pure fear of breaking the glass, what is driving it?
For the growth stage, it is about chasing a good feeling. Imagine you just had a string of brutal rejections on a Tuesday. Your pipeline is looking thin, and the pressure from your manager is mounting. You are stressed about your target.
Oh, I know that feeling so well. The target is just staring at you.
Exactly. So on Thursday, you get on a call with a prospect who is incredibly friendly. You crave that positive feeling. You want the dopamine hit of a good vibe call to offset the pain of your week.
So you just let the call become a fun chat?
Yes. You deliberately avoid the hard business questions because you do not want to risk ruining the one good chat you have had all week.
Oh, wow. That is deeply relatable. You are protecting your own feelings, not serving the client. It becomes an emotional safety blanket. What happens when these folks reach leadership roles?
This is where the damage spreads across a whole company. When leaders have a deep fear of tension, it quietly becomes the ceiling for their whole team. A manager will listen to a rep's pitch and coach them to soften their approach, simply because the manager projects their own fear onto the call.
They tell the team to be nicer, which just tanks the conversion rates. And what about the veterans, the people who've been pulling huge commission for 20 years?
For them, the mask is coasting on an old-school playbook. Decades ago, long lunches and pure rapport were the main tools of sales. But modern buyers are different. They do their own research, they're pressed for time, and they want direct, expert guidance right away. Veterans often clash with this because they're still trying to win on pure warmth.
Let's talk about some real folks to ground this. Think about Sarah in enterprise sales. By all accounts, she was the most likable person on the floor. Her warmth was just off the charts.
Clients absolutely adored her. She remembered birthdays, she sent thoughtful notes, but her deals constantly stalled right at the finish line.
Right. And when her manager finally sat down and listened to her calls, the pattern was glaring. Whenever it's time to ask about the real budget or firm setup dates, Sarah would hesitate.
She valued the friendly vibe so much that she would soften the question. Or worse, she would let the buyer change the subject entirely to avoid the awkward pause.
She was actively choosing the comfort of the friend zone over the tension of the close. And on the flip side, we have Michael in field sales. He had 20 solid years of visiting business owners. He thought he was losing deals because younger reps had better tech tools.
He blamed the modern tools. But when he dug into his own habits, he realized his decades of trust building had become a total crutch.
How so? Like he was relying on it too much.
He was terrified that being direct after all those years would make him look like a pushy rep and undo all his good standing. He was using his vast experience to justify total inaction.
His fix was a massive mind shift, right? He had to realize that his 20 years of experience did not mean he should be passive. It meant he had actively earned the right to make a firm, direct ask.
Exactly. He had to bring the status signal back into the room, and once he did, those stalled accounts started moving again.
Okay, so we have fully diagnosed the problem. We know the pain of it. Now let's build the toolkit. How do we, the listeners, actually balance this tension and warmth in our next pitch? There are some incredibly practical habits here, and I want to start with one that absolutely blew my mind: the laughter ratio.
It seems like such a tiny detail, but it speaks volumes in human behavior.
Yep.
When you look at how people bond, excessive mirrored laughter is a massive red flag for losing status.
Break that down for me. What exactly is mirrored laughter in a pitch?
It is when you laugh at everything the client says, regardless of whether it was meant to be a joke. If they say, yeah, we are really struggling with our target this quarter, and you give this soft, nervous chuckle, you are physically sending a signal.
And the signal is, I am beneath you and I desperately want you to like me.
Precisely. You are keeping things light so they will not hang up,
Mm-hmm.
but you are laughing away your own power.
That is devastating to think about. I catch myself doing that. The client makes a mildly amusing comment and I just erupt into this hearty laugh. So the fix is not to be a cold, stony robot, but to ensure your laughter is genuine and earned, not just an automatic nervous tick.
You hit the nail on the head. Genuine warmth is great. Nervous pleasing is destructive. And that ties directly into another vital habit: protecting silence.
No, I am massively guilty of this one. You finally muster the courage to ask a hard question. Maybe you ask who else needs to sign off on the budget and the client goes quiet. And that silence feels incredibly heavy. The urge to jump back in and fill the void with chatter is so strong.
It feels like an eternity. But that nervous chatter is the exact second the friend zone swallows you whole.
Really, just by filling the silence.
Yes. When you ask a direct, hard question, the buyer's brain has to work to process it. That silence is the sound of them treating you as a true peer. If you panic and jump in to soften the question with extra words, you relieve the tension, but you destroy your status.
Because you could not handle the pressure of the moment.
Exactly. Ask the hard question, and then force yourself to stop talking. Silence projects immense confidence. It tells the other person that you are completely fine with the tension.
Okay, so let's talk about how to weave the warmth and the tension together structurally so we do not just sound mean or cold. There is this warmth plus one habit that Sarah used to clean up her pipeline.
This is a fantastic tool to build. The rule is simple. For every warm, agreeable thing you say, you must right away follow it with one piece of firm direction.
So if a client suggests a timeline, instead of just saying, that sounds wonderful, which is purely pleasing them,
You say, that sounds wonderful, and here is the one piece of the rollout plan I would tighten up before we lock in that date.
I love the mechanics of that. That sounds wonderful, validates them, and provides the warmth. Here is what I would tighten up. Establishes your status and skill. You are holding both signals at the exact same time.
You are. Another powerful phrasing tool is the gentle pushback. When you need to disagree with a client's plan, you want a preloaded phrase so you do not panic and just agree. A phrase like, I want to push back gently on that.
Let's look at why those specific words work so well. Gently is your warmth signal. It tells the buyer they are safe and you are not attacking them. But pushback is your status signal. It sets a firm boundary and shows you are confident enough to challenge their thoughts.
It is perfectly tuned. And the final piece of the toolkit is scheduling this tension. Do not wait until the last 2 minutes of a call to bring up the hardest topic.
Because if you do, it is way too easy to let the clock run out and just promise to follow up next week.
Exactly. You have to place the friction right in the middle of the chat. And beyond that, you should close every single call with firm guidance. No matter how much time you spent talking about weekend plans, the final sentence should always be something like, based on this, here's what I strongly suggest as our next step.
We have covered so much ground here, the deep human nature of it, the career traps, the specific talking tools. But it makes me wonder about the life cycle of a deal itself. Is there a specific point of no return? Like a clear moment when a deal officially dies in the friend zone.
That is perhaps the saddest truth of all. The death of a deal is rarely a huge fight or a sudden drop-off. The moment it actually dies happens weeks, sometimes months, before the visible stall.
Wow, when does it happen?
It happens in that one quiet moment when a rep has the golden chance to ask a slightly tense question. Maybe they need to push back on a false hope or ask to speak to the real boss. And in that split second, they actively choose comfort instead of tension.
They just let the moment pass.
They let it pass to keep the good vibe alive. That single choice, repeated a few times, builds the invisible walls of the friend zone long before anyone realizes the deal is doomed.
You chose the comfortable silence, and you lost the deal right then and there. You just did not know it yet. We have spent this entire time looking at the buyer's mind, analyzing how they view warmth and status. But I want to leave you, the listener, with a thought about your own mind. As we were talking through this, it hit me. If you are always defaulting to the friend zone, if your overwhelming drive is to be endlessly pleasing, are you actually just masking imposter syndrome?
That is a deep question.
It is. Think about it. If you secretly doubt your own skill, if you do not truly believe you bring unique value to the client, a friendly smile is the absolute easiest place to hide. It makes me wonder, are we avoiding pension to serve the client, or are we just hiding behind the nice guy mask because we do not yet believe we deserve a seat at the head of the table? Something to really chew on the next time you feel the urge to just nod along.
These thoughts, these questions, they don't have to stop here. Sales Geeks has many more podcasts and videos just like this one. Subscribe to the channel and explore other episodes. They all flow the same honest way. If this podcast felt genuinely useful to your informant, share it with even one person in your life. That one share can bring a real change in someone's life, and it helps Sales Geeks reach more people who truly need this. If this brought you real value, look for the Join button right next to the Sales Geeks logo below this video. Click it and become a member of the Sales Support Circle. Your support helps honest sales awareness reach thousands who are silently struggling. Sales Geeks moves forward because of you. Thank you so much from the heart for being here.